Welcome to Fox Soul's Black Report, your daily source for Black news, views, and of course opinions. Today is Wednesday. Happy Wednesday, September 14th, and I'm Mimi Brown.
And I'm Romeo.
I'm Demi Lobo. And on today's report, new updates on WNBA star Brittney Griner, who's currently detained in Russia, as she starts to become anxious about answers pertaining to her release that are still unknown. Meanwhile, the face-off between Georgia Senator Raphael Warnock and Herschel Walker is officially happening. We'll tell you what day the two men will meet and debate on pressing issues that affect the state of Georgia. Then in Philadelphia, a case which is the first of its kind. A cop is on trial for killing a black man. Turns out that cop had complaints prior to that incident, and we have the story.
Plus, Diddy is taking fans behind the scenes, showing the making of his new label, and is the #1 music video countdown show making a comeback. We have all that and so much more. This is our voice and our truth, so let's get it.
Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. We start today with news on Brittney Griner. According to reports, the WNBA star is becoming more stressed out about her situation. Former Governor Bill Richardson, he is in Moscow this week. He is meeting with the country's leadership about the fate of Griner. Griner's representatives say the stress is hitting her hard because there is no word on where negotiations are between the U.S. diplomats and the Russian officials on a possible prisoner swap. The WNBA star was sentenced last month to a drug smuggling charge. The United Nations has discussed a prisoner swap that could include Paul Whelan. Now, he's the other American in Russian custody for a possible Russian arms dealer who is in U.S. custody. There's so much happening here, but not happening all at the same time, right? It's been more than a month. We haven't really heard anything. Her lawyer said that they have no information on when the appeal is happening. They're trying to at least get that on the books because they're saying, for whatever reason, if a prisoner swap doesn't work, at least we know that we can try and lower her sentence. So that's happening. I think that that state of not knowing, that in-between state, that at least Bill Richardson, he's there. He is trying to work on her behalf. But I guess for Brittney, and I would feel the same way, I need some answers. Where's Joe Biden? Where's the State Department? Where are all these people who were working on my behalf? What's happening? Why are we in limbo? Give me an update. I'm pretty sure if she had an update, she'd feel a little different.
9 years, sentence to 9 years is a lot to have to wonder every single day. Am I going to have to serve that 9 years? Or is there someone, like you said, going to come and save me? And in this particular case, everything seems to go really slow, then really fast. Then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we'll see some big changes. I was confident that the private channel that everyone was going to have the conversations and that maybe those conversations were being had. But it seems as if she's feeling stressed right now and unsure and unknown about the future, then maybe there are not conversations being had, because I personally thought we weren't finding out much information on our side because it was a private channel that they were having communication. But now I'm thinking now that there is no conversation happening.
3 days from now, we're talking 7 months that she would have been locked up. And it's one thing pre-trial, before the trial, because you're wondering, hey, I know I didn't do anything that wrong. My track record really isn't that bad. Maybe I'll be okay. Now the reality is she has been sentenced. And yes, sometimes it's out of sight, out of mind for us. Hopefully behind the scenes, they're working on things and there'll be some big surprise in the next couple of days. But I feel like there's so much going on in our world, right, and daily things we have to do, that she's still a priority, but unfortunately it's just not being talked about. And that takes effect on her family, her finances, her friends. Like, it's a lot to be on her shoulders right now.
No, Romeo, you make a really good point. Perhaps there are private conversations going on that we aren't privy to. I know the Russian officials wanted to keep this secret, and so maybe that's what's happening here. Maybe, they aren't speaking to the press so much. We're just kind of learning how she's feeling, but not what's going on behind the scenes. And perhaps maybe she doesn't know, because then she'll tell a friend or family or her team, and then the word will get out. And so best we can pray for is that there are negotiations, there are private deals being worked out behind the scenes. And like you said, it'll move very quickly, and the next thing you know, we'll be celebrating.
Absolutely. Hopefully so, because we definitely need a celebration in this particular situation. Now, on to our next story here, Soulmates. While Democrats were celebrating the signing of an Inflation Reduction Act, Wall Street was reeling from the news of stubbornly high inflation. Now, President Biden, he held a signing ceremony Tuesday in the White House on the White House lawn. Democrats say the law will help combat inflation that has helped drive Biden's approval numbers down. Meanwhile, the Consumer Price Index, which measures inflation, rose 0.1%, sending the S&P 500 down 4.3% for its biggest drop since June 2020, when the country was in the depths of the pandemic-influenced recession. While Wall Street shudders from the news, the job market continues to chug along, with companies still hiring people at a good pace.
Definitely good news there. Republicans are introducing a nationwide ban on abortion after 15 weeks of pregnancy. The idea, promoted by Senator Lindsey Graham, has brought many issues Republicans don't want to deal with just before the midterm elections. Democrats have been warning voters if the GOP takes back the Senate, they can expect Republicans to pass a nationwide law that will restrict a woman's right to choose.
Because I feel comfortable at 15 weeks, the science tells us that the nerve endings are developed to the point that the unborn child feels pain. So the theory of the case here is not to be like Europe so much, is to have a standard in America that would prohibit abortions during the birthing process at a stage where it's pretty clear from the science and most of the world this should be a no-go.
There is no chance the bill will come up for a vote. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says he won't even bring the vote up for a vote.
Former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo is filing an ethics complaint accusing Attorney General Letitia James of misconduct in her probe of Cuomo's sexual harassment of 11 women. The 48-page complaint alleges James manipulated the investigation and accuses two deputies involved in the probe with unethical conduct. Cuomo resigned a week after James' investigation released a report about Cuomo's alleged wrongdoing. A spokesperson for the Attorney General says the former governor resigned after the probe revealed he preyed on multiple women who worked for him.
Georgia Senator Raphael Warnock and Herschel Walker are finally getting together for a televised debate later this month. The debate will take place in Savannah October 14th, just weeks before Election Day. The announcement ends months of fighting between the two campaigns. Walker refused to debate his Republican opponent in the run-up to the GOP primary for the Senate. The race is key to control over the Senate. Now, right now, there is a 50-50 tie, but Vice President Kamala Harris can break a tie to pass legislation in the Senate. Now, I really like the way that Raphael Warnock, his energy right now. He's on Twitter. He's asking those who follow him, saying, hey, we are a 50-50 split. Will you do your part to come out and vote for the right person? He's not bashing Herschel Walker, which some would think that he would do. He's been very positive online, and he also kind of asked Herschel Walker, hey, I know that you're going to debate me in Savannah, but why are you afraid, so to speak, to debate in two other cities, one being Atlanta and then another city in Georgia as well? He's like, I want our viewers to see, those who live in Georgia, to see more than one time that we're debating. I want them to see multiple times so that they can have a clear view of who they want to vote for. And I think it's I like the energy, but I also think he's also trying to put him in a trap because he knows that he might not have enough talking points to battle him. He knows that he's not going to have enough resources to talk about. But I do think that too, people should see them more than once so that, hey, maybe you missed Savannah, maybe you missed the live debate. You can go to Atlanta or another city in Georgia and be able to actually, like, you get what I'm saying? Like, really have a clear view of why you should not be voting for Herschel Walker.
That other city is Macon. So
yes.
There's Macon, Savannah, and Atlanta. That's where they wanted to do the three debates. So he agreed to the one in Savannah, but not to the other cities. And so if you live in Savannah, you can't, or if you live in Atlanta or Macon, you can't see the debate in Savannah. So that's why he wants to do those other cities so that every part of Georgia has an opportunity to see who they're voting for. But it's funny that Raphael Warnock is not bashing him, because a conservative radio host is. She says, I think Walker is more likely to win by not debating. And she is based in Georgia. She told that to CNN earlier this week, and she said, God help him against Warnock on stage. So you have to remember, Raphael Warnock, he is a minister, right? So he speaks for a living. We're talking about Herschel Walker, who has made so many gaffes this campaign season, who half the time we're not even sure what he's talking about, right? So him going up against Senator Raphael Warnock is going to be something that I think everybody wants to see, and hopefully Georgians can make a really, really, really informed decision. I don't even know why we are so close in this race, because it should not be as close as it is.
It makes it must-see TV. I mean, if this is pay-per-view, I would pay to see it. And I have family in Georgia. You know, we're in California, so it's a whole different situation, right? But I would pay to see this, because I feel like Herschel Walker's team is in a corner saying, look, we have to do something. We have to show face. So let's try it one time. Can he follow the script? I don't think he can. I don't think he will. Even there's a scripted situation for him. Like, I feel like under pressure, he's going to fumble the ball. He's done it so far. And I think with all the bright lights, he's now on the football field. There's not 10 other players around to protect him. I think this is a sure win for Warnock. And I wish they could do Macon, Savannah, and Atlanta.
Yes.
Right.
You feel me?
You know, the other thing, too, was really important to those who vote for you. People want to see themselves in who they vote for, you know, and you think about, you made a really great point about Raphael Warnock being a reverend. So you have the people who are in his church. You have those other pastors that are going to want to look out for another black pastor. You have those who are just churchgoers that are going to be like, hey, I want to vote for him because he's a churchgoer. Not forgetting, we cannot leave out the fact that he's also a member of Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. So you also are going to have those alphas that you have the people that are in the Dion. You're going to have those alpha AKAs like ourselves who are going to want to go out and support First Fam. So he also has a very much so extended database of not just black people, of just another database that technically Herschel Walker cannot tap into. He's not tapped into the churchgoers. He's not tapped into the Greek life, HBCU people. Like Senator Raphael Warnock has a special set of skills that I really do believe that him tapping into those resources is going to make him a clear. And
I'm glad you said that. That's why I don't always believe the hype and the numbers that we're seeing now. When we talk about 50-50, I don't think it'll be that way. If those people get out and vote, they should go out and vote. That means everyone in Georgia, get out and vote. I don't think it'll be close come election time. But we'll
Special set of skills. All right.
I got that from Law and Order.
I like that.
I like that.
Yeah.
All right, well, a nurse in Los Angeles who was accused of killing 5 people during a fiery crash was driving 130 miles an hour before slamming into cars waiting at a stoplight. Data from Nicole Linton's Mercedes-Benz E-Class Coupe says 5 seconds before slamming into the other car, she went from 122 to 130 miles an hour. The information was presented by the LA District Attorney's Office to a judge as part of their opposition to pretrial release for Linton. The judge indicates she refused to adjust bail for Linton, who will remain in jail. She will be in court October 26th for the arraignment.
And parents of students at a Georgia high school are upset after an audio tape revealed the principal using the N-word during a meeting with a white student.
Cracker is slang for white, and it's the antonym to
East Forsyth High School Principal Jeff Cheney and 2 other staff members were trying to explain racially offensive words to a white student. School officials say the goal of the meeting was for the student to understand that people at the school must be sensitive and respectful to others. Cheney admits that what he said was inappropriate, and he apologized to the young man's parents. Officials with the school district say Cheney will not be disciplined and consider the matter closed. Listen. When good intentions go wrong, right? Like, I do think, though, sometimes people just want to get that word off. However they can. I do. That's honestly how I feel. And I think that this was an opportunity where he could finally just say it. And so he took it. And he didn't know the student was recording. Or somebody was recording.
That is absolutely right. I do believe that there are certain instances where people just, hey, I really didn't mean it. I didn't mean it, malice. There was no malice behind it. It was a teachable lesson. I was trying to teach. But I do believe that I do believe that there was some, teaching behind it, because this has happened to me before, actually, where there was a person, a white gentleman, that was trying to describe law to me. He was trying to describe law and how it affects the workplace and things of that nature. And he got it out off. He got it off a couple times, and technically I couldn't say that he was racist because in his mind he's like, I'm just letting you know words that you can't say. And so there was nothing that we could do about it. I couldn't say that he was being racist. I couldn't prove that he was being racist. So same situation here. He just wanted to just be able to say it and be like, you know, hey, I got away with it, but I'm not a racist though. So
before I saw the video, I was like, what? Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Then when I heard, I was like, okay, he's trying to explain something. Should I give him the benefit of the doubt? Then I was like, well, let me go ahead and Google why white people saying the N-word isn't the same as black people saying cracker. There's
It's
a huge
not the
difference.
same thing.
If you think about what black people have gone through
not
from
the
the
same
days of
thing.
slavery up to now, it's no comparison at all.
not the same.
Not at all. Even you have black people that are very uncomfortable using that word. Even though some will go against that and say, what about all the rap records and things of that nature? Look, different show for different folk, but I will say this, there's no comparison between the two.
There's
Absolutely
no
not.
comparison. I think he should have chose another word. He should have said the N-word.
Yeah, that'd been it.
Had I been in there, I would have stopped it and said, excuse me, because you cannot let that go. I'm sorry. Like, there's just no comparison, right? So I'm just thinking about, I know times have changed, but I'm just thinking about George Jefferson, right?
Okay.
And how loosely he would say that on daytime television back in the day, and no one would say anything. But on the other hand, you never heard anyone loosely on daytime television saying the N-word, right? So those are just two things. Y'all might be too young for George Jefferson. I used to
No,
watch
we
it.
know, we definitely know
If
about
you did research, I know about moving on up.
yeah, we know about George Jefferson. You know, another situation where parents are outraged here in Connecticut. Parents who oppose critical race theory being taught in high school are angry after a teacher attempted to explain vocabulary words used in discussions about race and gender. The parents gathered at school board meetings in Southington, Connecticut to complain about a worksheet the teacher was using. Now, the worksheet uses the term white privilege. It upset the parents the most. School officials say the worksheet was put together to discuss the term as well as other terms like indigenous people. The worksheet became an issue after a student showed their parents school board officials, and they say that they are looking into the use of the worksheet. I don't believe that the word white privilege is a problem. I don't believe that we are saying a foreign word. I don't believe that we're saying a word that is not applied today here in 2022. White privilege is very much so alive and well. We have white privilege cards that are roaming around right now on Amazon. So if you can't explain white privilege, I mean,
Why would you make a card about it?
there we go.
And
so
why the sales so high?
Right.
yeah,
For those
and why
For
the
the
sales
cards.
absolutely. So, I mean, I'm sorry to the people that feel affected, but white privilege is very much so a thing.
And, you know, in this, unlike the last story, so this story, this teacher was trying to show them words and teach them the context of the words. That was it. He wasn't saying that white people have white privilege. He was literally just using words and trying to explain them to the students. The parents, someone recorded or someone took the form to the school board, and the school board got all up in arms, and they had like an open forum, and a lot of the parents was like, why are we teaching white privilege? Why are we this? But there was a lot of words on there. They only took offense to the one that said white privilege, because sometimes, what do they say? A hit dog will holler. Like, I just really don't understand why that one word really got your goose going. There's so many, I don't know the other words, but I forgot, but there were so many other words on there, and this is the one that they chose to make a big deal about.
I know a lot of white people that admit that there's white privilege.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So once you accept, okay, this is what it is, you know, we can move on forward. But like to hold up and say, we don't like you using that, and yet you think another teacher can use the N-word so loosely, even in a conversation like that? Again, no
I mean,
comparison.
but Romeo too. I mean, I don't think that that those who are not black shouldn't. You know, sometimes you kind of got to see where a person is coming from, right? Because you feel like with white Americans, they feel like we're just getting so much. We're getting words, we're getting months, we're getting money, we're getting funds, we're getting so much coming our way that when they sit back and they give the opportunity to be like, oh no, this is my chance to be able to reel it in and say, hey, you guys are disrespecting us, because everybody wants to feel everyone wants to feel something. You want to feel like, hey, we're being disrespected and stand up for their people. So I'm not necessarily upset about it. It's silly, but I'm upset that they tried to sit here and say that white privilege is not a thing, but also people are upset that black people are having a moment, that we're Black Lives Matter and protesting and everything like that. So they're looking to find something to be able to stand up for their community. So I'm not upset about it, but it's kind of like white privilege is here, and that's just that.
Got it.
Yeah.
Right. Well, now for the first time in Philadelphia history, a police officer is on trial for killing an unarmed black man. Prosecutors say former cop Eric Rutch shot and killed Dennis Plowden less than 6 seconds after arriving on scene of a car crash that came after a high-speed police chase in 2017. Defense attorneys say Rutch had to make a split decision when Plowden did not respond to his orders. Rutch was fired. He was fired 10 months after the shooting, and a judge in the trial has barred prosecutors from telling jurors about a series of complaints filed against the former police officer. Normally when we see something like this, there's always a paper trail. There's always a pass. So I'm not surprised about that. But then again, based on what they're saying footage where the young man getting out of the car, he looked a little dazed. Obviously, there was a crash, so he wasn't all there. So, and he even said, even in that situation, it looked like he was trying to comply. But 6 seconds to make that decision, I don't think that's part of your training.
Yeah. 6 seconds is never enough when someone's life hangs in the balance. And perhaps if they had done the job before and look at the prior complaints before, someone would still be alive today. And so that's very important. And that's how we continue this cycle, is that we give them the benefit of the doubt and all those certain things. And it only tends to hurt us and not them.
You know, what I thought was really shocking for this was that it was the first of its kind. They're saying that it's the first of its kind. That's pretty interesting, because I'm willing to bet any amount of money that there's a black person in Philadelphia that was shot and killed by a police officer. So I thought this was pretty interesting, that this is the first time that we're seeing this happen, where they're on trial. And hopefully, unfortunately, there are going to be more deaths because we just can't control it at this time in America. But hopefully we see more cops in trial for killing black people in this city and other cities around the world.
Yeah, and they did admit that Plowden's widow got $1.2 million. They agreed to pay her that, but they said that doesn't admit to any wrongdoing. So why would you pay that out?
Absolutely.
Wrongdoing, right?
Because it wasn't their money, and it's just easier to write a check.
Yeah, you're right.